It happens quietly at first. You flip on the news and see worried faces, but you tell yourself it's nothing. But then one morning you arrive at the supermarket. The shelves are stripped bare. Your nearest bank branch has a line stretching down the block, but it's only letting people withdraw enough for a loaf of bread. Your neighbor, once the picture of middle-class security, is standing by her car in disbelief, her savings gutted overnight by a currency freeze. In that moment, something unexpected becomes obvious. There, behind a sagging wooden gate, an overgrown backyard filled with forgotten vegetable beds and wild herbs has become the most valuable property in the neighborhood. Panic spreads, but the ones who quietly planted for substance, not style, are suddenly holding the only asset that matters. This is real history. In times of collapse, nations survived not on gold, but on what they grew. Most people trust in the familiar. They believe savings in the bank is untouchable, that real estate stands firm, or that a handful of gold coins can weather any storm. But history disagrees. Bank runs in Argentina and Cyprus wiped out lifetimes of saving in a weekend. Property titles meant little in Zimbabwe when hyperinflation sent prices off a cliff. Even gold, once the final refuge, has been seized by desperate governments or rendered useless when trade vanished. The sense of security these assets provide is an illusion one shattered each time a crisis snaps the system's rules. What almost no one prepares for is what history quietly rewards: the garden. When chaos breaks out and systems collapse, the difference between hunger and survival isn't found in a vault or on a screen, it's discovered in the earth, in seeds, in what you can grow with your own hands. That's the real safe asset during World War II. As German submarines threatened British shipping lanes and imported food became scarce, the British government didn't turn to secret gold vaults or stocks, they turned to the nation's backyards. Dig for victory was more than a slogan. It was a transformation. By 1943, over 1.4 million allotment plots peppered the country, producing nearly 10% of all food consumed. Survival depended on carrots yanked from city soil and potatoes grown beside industry. In Cuba, after the Soviet Union crumbled in the early 1990s, oil, fertilizer, and imports evaporated overnight. Supermarkets emptied and average caloric intake plummeted. Yet urban gardens organoponicos built in vacant lots and rooftops soon supplied up to half of Havana's fresh produce. Meanwhile, during both World Wars, Americans planted victory gardens in window boxes and empty lots, producing nearly 40% of the nation's vegetables by 1944. What united these stories wasn't privilege or wealth, but a willingness to plant, to share, to adapt. Gardens overthrew class lines. They flourished in bombed cities and struggling countryside alike. Those who relied only on ration cards or money faltered. Those who embraced the soil found food, community, and a future, while others simply ran out of options. Scarcity always feels distant and it's suddenly personal. For years, most citizens are lulled by consumer culture's constant reassurance. Supermarkets must always be stocked. Money in the bank is always safe, and any warning of collapse is for other countries, other times. Even as news of crisis inches closer, the psychological shield holds strong. People hoard canned goods, rush to sell off jewelry or electronics in panic, or simply hope for government aid to appear. The humble garden is dismissed as old-fashioned, a hobby for retirees, never a necessity. Yet when collapse finally arrives, those quiet few who prepared, who dug soil, traded cuttings, saved seeds, and taught others are suddenly in the strongest position. It's the ultimate contrast. While the majority scramble for basics or wait for lost comforts to return, gardeners are already harvesting, bartering, and building new networks of trust. The overlooked skill becomes the sole advantage that matters. In a financial crisis, cold mathematics rewrite every rule. Gold, so revered in normal times, cannot be sliced into dinner. Cash devalues with every desperate announcement, shrinking buying power day by day. Assets like cars, once seen as insurance, become immovable burdens when nobody can afford to buy, to fuel, or even to swap. What holds value isn't what you thought you owned, it's what others truly need. Here, the garden becomes unbeatable. Every tomato and squash offers calories that can't be seized, taxed, or devalued by overnight policy. Extra harvest becomes instant barter material. Eggs for medicine, herbs for soap, potatoes for labor. Gardeners achieve a subtle local power, not from dollars but from being able to feed, share, and exchange. These yields arrive day after day, immune to headlines, untouched by inflation. True assets are tangible: food, clean water, seeds that multiply. In contrast, financial paper stocks, notes, digital balances become soundless and useless when the infrastructure to redeem them collapses. History keeps teaching us, in a storm, real value can be grown, shared, and eaten. While paper promises blow away in the wind, so if history repeats and food systems fail, what could you actually do today to stack the odds in your favor? Start a garden, but don't overthink size. Whether you have a yard, a balcony, or a sunny window, resilience begins the moment you plant the first seed. Focus on essentials: fast-growing greens, root veg like potatoes or carrots, hardy beans. Add a fruiting plant. Even one robust pepper or tomato can feed you far beyond its store-bought price. But diversity is the real secret. Grow for nutrition, flavor, and barter value. Aromatic herbs, medicinal plants, and pollinator flowers alongside staple crops. Save seeds from your best performers. Soon, you'll never need another seed packet again. Soil health is your invisible wealth. Feed it with compost and mulch to generate bigger yields and drought resistance. No space? Get creative. Vertical towers, buckets of lettuce, community plots, guerrilla beds along alleys, and even hidden gardens behind hedges can thrive. But remember, during crisis, discretion matters. Don't flash abundance. Quietly build relationships with neighbors, trading garden knowledge or a basket of squash for eggs or repairs. Your aim isn't to become self-sufficient in a week. It's to layer up real, living security that grows over time, unfreezable, untaxable, and shielded from the chaos that tears apart lesser assets. Every seed, every sprout is a step away from dependence and toward self-determination. When economies unravel, something remarkable happens around backyard gardens. They extend invisible roots throughout entire neighborhoods. In Argentina's 2001 collapse, what began as solitary food plots quickly morphed into flourishing barter clubs. Neighbors swapped fresh greens and eggs for bread or fuel, sidestepping the useless peso. In Zimbabwe, women's gardening groups pooled harvests to ensure no family went hungry and organized seed swaps that kept rare crops alive when imports vanished. Even tiny plots became assets, not by hoarding, but by sharing. Isolated survivalists, armed and anxious, were often forced into dangerous trades or left to face shortages alone. By contrast, connected growers built web-like networks of trust and mutual aid. A single basket of tomatoes became a ticket into a circle of teachers, mechanics, and herbalists. In the end, gardens produced more than food. They restored dignity and possibility, multiplying the power of every small harvest beyond any backyard fence. Ask yourself, what survives when the system fails? Gold shines on paper but won't buy a carrot when markets freeze. Insurance policies are comforting until payouts vanish with currency stability. Even a high-paying job or rental loses its worth when no one can pay and stores stand empty. Now consider this: in every real collapse, the quiet advantage belongs to those with practical skills and a patch of earth. Success isn't measured by account balances, it's found in what you can actually eat, share, or trade when nothing else moves. How protected are you, really? Spend hours tracking stocks and headlines, and you'll watch your options shrink in a true emergency. But nurture a garden, even a single tomato plant, and you unlock resilience ignored by so many. In uncertain times, your confidence grows not from what the system owes you, but from what you can coax out of living soil, day after day. In a world obsessed with financial security, the most dangerous thing you can do is ignore the humble garden. It's the one insurance policy you can't buy during chaos, a safety net grown with your own hands. Time and again, it's not wealth that saves people, but adaptability and readiness. You don't need acres or experience, just the willingness to start, to plant something, to reclaim agency when the system falters. Don't wait for the next crisis to realize what truly matters. Begin today, however small. And if you value clear, uncomfortable truth, subscribe now. The next fracture is already forming, and you'll want to see the warning signs before they become headlines.